a partially valid, a half-truth, if you will, is being pushed.
I can't wait to find out all sorts of new and exciting things I didn't know about myself.
So you just hate Jews, bro?
Yeah, you're just an anti-Semite. Congratulations.
You're
Go
not
join.
What would you say?
Exactly.
Well, that's different. It's not different. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's
that just we are the only society on earth who has the obligation to self-destruct, to blame ourselves for every problem that has ever existed, and we just think of ourselves as the worst human beings who are responsible for every bad.
How many Muslims are trying to stop Boko Haram? How many Muslims were confronting ISIS? How many Muslims, the extremists always win. So the peaceful majority, of which I know many, they're irrelevant.
Good morning, Misfits. All right, it's Monday. It's Maha Monday. Right, we like to do the themes on the Daily Breakdown, and today's theme is Maha Monday. If I can find it, there we go. All right, so Maha Monday is health hacks with Misfit. All right. If you are not aware, if you don't follow me on the socials, if you're only watching the Daily Breakdown on Rumble, I've been doing this for the past couple of years, okay? And I thought this was pretty interesting. I didn't realize this, okay? No, not this one. Sorry. Here we go. So this is from last year, okay? And what I've been doing is last year I did. No, so dry January is a thing where, people who drink, they go, okay, I'm going to do 30 days no drinking for January, hence dry January. And I was like, you know what? That's easy. That really is easy. It's like 30 days is nothing, right? If you really want to do something that really challenges you for some type of health challenge, right? You should do 90 days, not 30 days. 30 days is nothing. So I did dry 90, right? Where no alcohol for 90 days. And on March 21st of last year, I lost 20 pounds, right? I was like, damn. So I'm going to make this a yearly thing. However, last year, I have to admit, after my dry 90, I went and I jumped right back. I got to put all this weight back on. I didn't do it intentionally, but I just was like, okay, we did it. That's great. Now let's get right back to being an unhealthy piece of crap. And I did. I put it all back on. But here's the thing. Check this out, right? I did it again this year. And look at this. Officially down 20 pounds since January 1st. Okay. Officially, this is last year. These are two different tweets from 1 year apart, right? Officially down 20 pounds since January 1st. Officially down 20 pounds since January 1st. March 22nd this year. March 21st last year. I didn't realize this. I didn't realize I almost posted them on the same day and lost almost the exact same amount of weight in the exact same amount of time. Right. So I just found that interesting. And I wanted to later on for Maha Monday, I'll give you guys some of the tips and tricks and health hacks that I did to make this happen. Right. But this year, for sure. Right. This year, I'm keeping the no bread. I'm keeping that. Right. I mean, I might do Sundays only. I might do a cheat day, but I'm not going to do what I did last year. Last year, I just was like, okay, it was a 90-day challenge. Throw it in the garbage and don't keep doing any part of it. Right. So this year, I'm going to implement parts of dry 90, parts of the first 3 months of the year, and continue them so we can keep this weight off, as opposed to last year where I just went right back into being a massive piece of all right. Anyway, so yeah, that's going to be the Maha Monday. That's going to be the Maha Monday theme for today. Now, let's get into the Daily Breakdown, though, okay? So for the Daily Breakdown, if you've never watched the show before, here's what we do. We go on the internet, we type in the word news, we break down whatever pops up. And this week we got, obviously we're not going to be able to read this, but the No Kings, No Kings protest. It's so funny because they literally did it in the UK. They did it where they literally have a king. They did a No Kings protest in a place. Hold on. Let's break this down. They did a No Kings protest where they have a king, and they weren't talking about that king. They were talking about Donald Trump, who's not a king, in a place where they have a king, and said they shouldn't have a king where they don't have a king, in a place where they have a king, that they should have a king. Dude, the left is literally just retarded, all right? Like, they are actually retarded. I'm talking extra chromosome. We need to redefine. We need to change that in the dictionary. We should call people with Down syndromes, but not what's going on now. They can have that. They can have retarded. We need to call people with Down syndrome something like happy and awesome, because they're great. People with Down syndrome are great. People who are retarded, not so much. It's quite literally a No King. It's a No Kings protest where they have a king anyway. But there was a lot of people. Look, you know what I love about these. What I love about these No Kings protests is I'll be on social media, and I'll be somebody that I maybe like, or somebody that I maybe was following. They'll finally jump in, and they'll be like, oh, actually. So I was following a couple of people on Instagram, and they were like, yeah, did the No Kings protest. And I was like, okay. And I just unfollow people at this point, right? It's like, because I'm like, I can't follow you. I can't watch you. I can't take anything you say seriously if you're going this stupid. And I think we should all do that. I made this post. In fact, we're gonna go ADD a little bit here. Let's find the post I made the other day. Okay, this kind of triggered a few people, but this is true. Okay, like I'm looking at certain people as you're just, here we go. Okay, look, if you're on the right, quote the right, and you're downplaying the threat of Islam or making excuses for people who are not only downplaying the threat, but claiming there isn't one, I'm treating you as a threat to this country and not just someone with a different opinion. Okay. Now, before you start playing the victim, this doesn't mean physical violence. It just means that there are people. This is the part that matters, right? And this is the part that's interchangeable with the No Kings people and the woke left, etc. Okay. There are people I disagree with. I can have a civil conversation with those people. I can find common ground with those people. I can even treat those people with respect. I have some friends that are on the left that don't like Trump, and I'm like, and they're my friends. They're great people, right? I don't think that they're a threat to the country. I think that they're just sort of useful idiots, and I think that they're sort of, But look, there are certain people where I'm like, dude, you're like a threat, like Antifa. Okay, like I think that Antifa is, I can't find common ground with those people. I can't find common ground with Antifa. I can't find common ground with Marxists. I can't find common ground with neo-Nazis, with, the Groypers. I can't find common ground with you people, all right? You're a threat to this country. You're a threat to everything that I hold dear. I don't. Charlie Kirk had the right move when he was like, I'm not going to debate with somebody like Nick Fuentes because you don't give that credibility. You don't give that attention. Okay, you treat those people the same way you treat Antifa, and then you have morons like Dave Smith who are like, oh, you guys will debate somebody. Well, there's a difference between going up and hosting an open mic type of event like Charlie Kirk did, where you have some type of trans furry Antifa radical socialist or some groiper in the audience who walks up and grabs the mic and you have to have a conversation with them, as opposed to putting them in a one-on-one situation where you give them credibility because you went out of your way to have a conversation with them, as opposed to them going out of their way to have a conversation with you. So I view the people who are, you know, like really anti-American, really like sort of like a threat to this country, the people that want to usher in ultranationalism or Marxism or socialism or communism or Islamism, like Tucker Carlson, into this country, who start praising it and reducing the threat and making excuses. People who like Hassan Piker, who go down to Cuba and they literally just promote propaganda for communists, authoritarian dictators. Those people, no, we unfollow those people. We don't give them credibility. We make fun of them. We talk about them on our page, but we don't bring them in and go, hey man, you know what? We could totally try to find common ground on communism, or common ground on this, or common ground. No, there is no common ground. You're my enemy. You're my enemy. You are literally my enemy. The only thing that's acceptable from me to you is ultimate surrender on your part. And that's the way I think, personally, we should try to treat these people. You know, you attack them, you highlight them, you call out their hypocrisy, but you don't find common ground, and you don't start going, whoa, they have some valid point. They have zero valid points. Zero. Not one, not two, zero. Zero. Hold on, say it with me. Zero. The No Kings people, zero. The Tucker Carlson fucking, like, Islam is great, zero. Communist, Marxist, zero. Why are you people doing this? You're going, well, I mean, they do make it. No. Zero. Just do it that way. Be like, no. No kings. How about no retards? Zero. Stop finding common ground with evil. Doesn't matter if you think that they have. So this is what I say. The reactionary right, the groypers, right? They call themselves the reactionary right. We're just reacting to the ridiculousness of the left. Okay, well, you're as ridiculous as the left, so your reaction is invalid, right? Like, you might say that you have valid grievances. Your reaction to those valid grievances are invalid, so we have to dismiss you the same way we dismiss them. You can't just do it like this. You can't just go, let's give them an inch, because they won't take a mile. They will. They'll take it every time. They'll take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 miles until they have the whole tent infiltrated. Zero. Common ground. 0. Respect. 0. Credibility. 0. That's how you deal with these people. Stop validating them at all. Well, doesn't that make us intolerant? Yes. Makes us intolerant to intolerance. Makes us intolerant to communism, intolerant to Marxism, intolerant to Islamism, intolerant to socialism, intolerant to authoritarianism. It makes us intolerant to evil. You shouldn't tolerate that. It's not hard to figure out. All right, next story. Iran, from CBS News, Pakistan says it will not host U.S. talks with Iran as soon as Iran warns against U.S. ground operations. Oh, this is one of those. Yeah, this is one of those thread stories. I'm all set with this because it's so confusing and hard to read. Let's just move on to this because we can talk about this for a few. Okay. So from the Guardian, the we have a lot to. I have a lot queued up for this one. Okay. MAGA anxiety over Iran war on display at CPAC as Trump skips event. Okay, so attendees at the Conservative Political Action Conference express support and concerns amid rift over Trump's action. Well, we're gonna dig into that, right? But let's see what this article says from Chris Stein in Grapevine, Texas. Wherever you go, there you are. Wherever you go, there you are, the saying goes. It was a lesson Donald Trump's MAGA faithful may have been reminded of last week when they gathered in a convention center near Dallas for the revival of the president's political movement, only to find that there was no escape from the problem it faces. The annual CPAC is usually a place of optimism, if not triumph. It was on this stage last year that Elon Musk pumped a chainsaw in the air, where J.D. Vance named undocumented immigration as the greatest threat, and Trump is regular regarding the audience with lengthy monologues and accomplishments. Not this year. For the first time in a decade, the president did not attend. Apparently consumed with the war in Iran. I don't think that's why he didn't attend. In his absence, the audience gathered in a cavernous ballroom, heard well-known but less powerful MAGA figures debate where the movement was headed. Chief among their concerns was how the president campaigned on ending wars, could find himself mulling ground invasion in Iran. I counseled as loud as possible against doing this in the first place, said Eric Prince, the former CEO of Blackwater Mercenary Group. You will see imagery of burning American warships in the next couple of weeks. No, you won't. No, you won't. And I don't think people are prepared for that. All right, Carl Benji in the chat. Hilarious sight as a patriot files a sign over the No Kings leftist saying, "Not a king, he's your daddy," in Los Angeles. Yeah, I know. There were so many ridiculous signs at the No Kings thing. Seated on a plush white chair next to him was former Navy SEAL Jason Redman, who told the audience, "The American people have to understand we can't stop now that we've started." Okay, good. Long story short, but this is a really long article. We're not going to go through it, right? Let's actually just go through what really happened here. Okay, so the Native Patriot was posting a lot about this, right? Yeah, let's actually just go. Let's go to his Goodbye Texas. There was one post. Yeah, here we go. There was one post where he was showing how the contrast between last year and this year. Looks like a lot of people are reposting that one, so we'll get to that. I was trying to find this one where he was posting about. It's ironic. He's posting about how gloomy it was, but also here we go. There we go. All right, look. This is here from the Native Patriot. Okay, last year's CPAC was filled with hope and celebration. People were excited and jubilant. This year's, if this year's CPAC is anything representative of the current movement, then we don't have a movement, right? And then you can see below here how empty it was. Okay, so let's go back to that other post from his. Seems I must revert and stick to my original message. All right, I went to CPAC to see if there was something I was missing, some redeeming quality that I overlooked. I was wrong. This was not MAGA. Heck, I'm wondering if it was even patriotic. It appears to have been a desperate cry for relevance in a demoralized country. Okay? And if there's some 5D chess plan that nobody knows about, it may be time to actually show that there is a plan. We heard we will win midterms. We heard we can't allow impeachments. We heard we will secure our elections. Isn't that why Republicans hold every part of the House? Isn't that why they won, to get this done? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But Here's the point here of this whole post. This was the most demoralizing event I've ever been to. The only redeeming quality was that I was blessed to spend so much time with DJ and get to see him in another police outfit. Okay. Then he's responding to this guy who said, I went to CPAC expecting America first and unapologetic faith. What I saw was something different, more foreign flags than American ones, a message that didn't reflect the values I stand for. So I went backstage, I confronted leadership, and I walked out. Okay. So let me explain to you what they're talking about, okay? This is the roaring crowd for the Iranian Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, right? The opposition leader to the Iranian regime. You can see here that this crowd was packed for him, okay? And people are taking that to mean like, oh, this is not America first, okay? Now, what we've been talking about is there's this black pill doomer class, right? And look, we talked about this last week. We can't continuously be focusing on the woke right, and we can't be spending all of our time and energy on this because we do have to defeat the left. However, you also have to look at the MAGA movement in a triage situation where what is the most important thing, right? Like if you go into the hospital and you have, a broken leg versus an arm that's literally falling off, hanging on by one little, nerve, you'd probably take the person with their arm hanging off before you start treating the broken leg. That's what triage means, right? Now, the left is the broken leg. Okay, the left, the No Kings protest, something that we should highlight, something that we should focus on. The issue of the left and how they're trying to steal the election. The Save America Act, very important, right? The triage thing, if you can sew that arm back on pretty quickly, right, you can very quickly get to the broken leg. And I think that we're almost done with this little surgery here. But this was and this is indicative of that, right? This was very telling, okay? Donald Trump didn't show up to this event, and I don't think it was because he's, quote, dealing with the war in Iran. I think he didn't show up to this event because why would he? The people who are running this event, the people who are headlining this event, and the people who are speaking at this event, right? A lot of them, they've been undermining this administration. Why would he reward them by showing up, right? However, when people at the event were polled, right? Donald Trump's approval rating approved 96%. So even though Donald Trump didn't even show up, 96% of the people that did approve of Donald Trump. So you have these empty, this is Steve Bannon's, CPAC, empty chairs, right? Empty audience. Like this is, look, this is from Friday at 1 p.m., right? Friday at 1 p.m., that's pretty much like that should be when it really starts heating up because it starts on Thursday, right? On Thursday, people might not really be there. They might still be, shuffling in, right? Saturday is a very big day because you have the headliners, but Friday, it's literally just that big. I've been to M-Fest, and Friday afternoon, it was the busiest. Saturday, it was pretty large because we had Donald Trump speaking, but Friday was the big, like, everybody's here in the afternoon type of thing. And it was dead, right? So people did show up for the Crown Prince. They showed up for RFK. They showed up for a few things. But for all of the people that were speaking on Friday at 1 p.m., like Matt Gaetz, like Jack Posobiec, all of these woke right, Steve Bannon, all of these people, nobody was showing up for them. And it's telling, even though nobody was showing up for them, the people that were polled there were very high in approval of Donald Trump. So I don't think that the native patriot and this dumbass who are taking the lack of energy and the lack of patriotism at the event, They're not taking it in the right way. What they see is, oh my God, MAGA's dead. No. MAGA is not. The woke right is. CPAC was indicative of, check this out. It turns out when the majority of your speakers are blackpilling the conservative movement, real conservatives don't show up to hear their black pill bullshit. And their followers, right? Matt Gaetz followers, all of these people who have these massive followings online, on the internet, right? Which is not real life, which is what we've been telling you is not real life. They don't show up because first of all, the internet's not real life. Second of all, they're black-pilled. Why would they? Who the F would want to pay money and take off work to go to a conference where people on the right talk about how much the right sucks? This is confirmation how weak this movement is. Real MAGA is done with the woke right. People did not show up on Friday. They showed up on Saturday, which is wild. They showed up on the final day because who was there? Who was there? How about RFK Jr.? How about Maha? Right? Maha was there. Here's CPAC. Plenty of people showed up for this.
I'm going to add one more, and I know I just have to ask this. If your dad were alive today, what would he say about you and what you've done?
I mean, everything that I've done in my life and the choices I made in my career are choices that I think my father and my uncle would support. I think that if they were around today, that they would be making the same kind of choices that President Trump is about Iran, about Ukraine, about trying to raise up the middle class. You know, I'll tell you something that, well, I grew up in a Democratic Party when the Democrats owned 30% of the wealth and the Republicans owned 70% of the wealth. And today, it's exactly the inverse. The Democrats own 70% of the wealth and the Republicans own 30% of the wealth. And the Democrats are no longer on the side of the middle class. They're contemptful of it. And President Trump is completely committed to farmers, to firemen, to police, to people who are working in this country.
All right, so there it is, right? There it is. If you understand, right, what why and how we saw the turnout, we saw how the turnout showed up, what the turnout was actually for, right? People weren't showing up to support the crown prince. They weren't. They were showing up to support Donald Trump and his efforts against the Iranian regime. And the people who truly are MAGA and truly are America first, they're supporting the Crown Prince because they actually think that replacing the IRGC with the Shah would be a good thing for America. So while people might try to gaslight you and try to twist it around and try to say that, oh no, the CPAC really shows that, you know, people are done with MAGA, it's actually quite the opposite. It's quite the opposite. People are actually they're so for MAGA. They're not for people who are anti-MAGA. And most of the people at the beginning 2 days of this event have become anti-MAGA. They really have. They're the ones that are pushing the MAGA is dead. They're doomers. They're black pillars. They are the ones that are trying to drive a wedge through this movement. And it's not working. It's not working. And it's because people like me have spent a lot of time, quote, infighting, right? That it's been exposed. It's because of people like me that it hasn't worked, because if I had either jumped on the no enemies to the right campaign, or if I had just said, oh, we should only focus on the left, right, then this movement would have probably metastasized a lot more than it did. It probably would have took hold, but it didn't. It didn't. And this isn't me just congratulating myself or patting myself on the back. This is me stating facts. There was a psyop on the right that would have worked if people like me didn't speak up early and call it out. I noticed it early. A lot of other people did. This isn't just me. I'm just saying I can speak for myself. I can't speak for other people. But there are people like me who called it out early. And that is why we are not seeing it actually fracture or destroy the right. We are not seeing it actually do anything. It's all astroturf. It's all fake. It's not really working. And that's important, because once we understand that something is no longer a threat, once we understand that the arm is sewn back on, we can now go and treat the guy with the broken leg, right? And that's triage. That's now we do focus more on the left. We do, right? But we need to acknowledge that this is still a problem, right? And it's just less of a problem. It doesn't mean we ignore it. Doesn't mean now we only focus. We just have to adjust to the time, and we have to take on the threats to the movement, and we need to do what's best for the country, and we need to really not get sucked into sensationalism or not get sucked into a psyop. We need to fight the psyop the best way possible, which is sunlight, best disinfectant. All right. I think I made my point. Let's move on to the next story for the Daily Breakdown. I think we covered the CPAC thing. This is extremely important, right? Because another op, right? So look, I don't want to keep saying ops like there's some big conspiracy, right? I don't want to turn this into the Candace Owens show, but there's an op that the left has been doing, right? So there's the internal op, then there's the external op, okay? The internal op we just addressed, right? That's when you get black pillars and doomers in the MAGA movement to point out how much MAGA sucks, right? But then there's the external op, which is you have the left, right, who tries to ruin the country to blame it on Trump to prove that Trump and MAGA suck, right? Like Trump is not leading well because look how bad things are, even though they're the ones that created the bad things. Okay, it's actually a very similar, like dichotomy. You have the right who's creating this problem that doesn't exist, right? Like Israel controls America, right? It's like, and oh my God, there's the war in Iran. Then you have the left who's like, look, the TSA workers aren't getting paid, and look at how expensive everything is, and look at how awful everything is, and everything's garbage and everything's awful, and it's really not. It's not. It's so much better than it was. Gas is so crazy because for the past 3 weeks, 4 weeks tops. All right. And that's the external op. So the external op from the left was they shut down the government on purpose, right? Knowing that it was going to make things awful so that they could blame it on Trump. And Trump outplayed them, right? Trump did. When they wanted the people who work at TSA to not get paid all the way through the summer so that everybody would blame Donald Trump. And Donald Trump he really did just outplay them when he put ICE in the airports, okay? He was like, I'm putting ICE in the airports. I don't give a shit. And then he also, he signed an executive order paying TSA. So he solved the problem. Right. And you can't just keep on banking on Donald Trump to solve the problem because he's really good at it. He will solve the problem, but he's not going to be here forever. We need Congress to actually do this stuff. We can't just rely on Daddy Trump coming in and saving the day, even though he does come in and save the day. We can't rely on that, even though this time it actually did happen. Donald Trump is so masterful at understanding the problem and finding the solution and implementing it, all right? But he's not going to be here after 2028. We need to fix this. We need the SAVE Act. We need to nuke the filibuster. We need to start governing, and we need to have everybody sort of take Trump's lead. One man can't do all of this. He is, but he shouldn't be. So, the U.S. House passes stopgap DHS funding bill after Republicans reject Senate deal. If you weren't paying attention on Friday over the weekend, John Thune, by the way, John Thune has got to go. All right. This is insane what John Thune has done. I was originally, and I even told you guys on Friday, I was actually for it. I was like, oh, actually, Senate Democrats, they outplayed, I'm sorry, Senate Republicans outplayed the Democrats. I was completely wrong. I had jumped I jumped on that way too early. I posted that I had changed my mind about that. Once I had realized what the Senate Republicans actually did, it was bad. And we'll get to that in a second. And I was actually I was pointing out how what Mike Johnson did in response might have even been a mistake, because now what you're doing is you're giving the House Democrats a reason to sort of blame the Republicans for why TSA isn't getting paid and why everything's awful. Thankfully, Trump came in and this was part of a bigger play, and they're actually getting paid. We have ICE in the airports. We have TSA getting paid starting today. Without that, this would be awful. This is the external operation again. All right. Let me explain to you what I mean by that. We'll read this story and then we'll jump into it, right? So, the Republicans in the House rejected the bipartisan. No, that's a stretch, right? The bipartisan Senate deal to temporarily fund the Department of Homeland Security, extending a weeks-long budget standoff that has disrupted air travel. Stopgap, which proposes funding DHS in full for 8 weeks, passed in the House after Republicans in the lower chambers refused to take up a Senate pass deal that would exclude money for immigration and customs enforcement and border patrol. Now, originally, I was like, who cares about the provision where it doesn't fund ICE, because the one big beautiful bill funded ICE through 2029. But once I read into it, once I understand what they were actually doing, I realized that what John Thune did was he gave Democrats everything they wanted. He gave them a win. They held the government hostage, and John Thune caved. And Mike Johnson came in and he goes, no. He goes, we're not doing that. We're the majority. We need to start acting like it. And he's 100% right. I have had my criticisms of Mike Johnson. I've said that he's been very squishy and weak. But listen, balls and strikes, this was not weak. This is how he should be. This is how he should have been doing it the whole time. All right. So essentially, what happened was John Thune. Let me go and get this for you. Okay. John Thune came in and he tried to squeeze this in like overnight, which I thought was a little weird. Let me see here. Yep. Okay. Look, I didn't expect Mike Johnson of all people to show some balls, but let's think about this for a minute. This is, like I said, this is where I was kind of like, okay, I mean, I don't know. This might not be a good idea. And I think I've passed it. Let me just double check. Yes, okay, I'm past it. Let's see here. So it should be shortly after this. All right, I'm starting to change my opinion on this now that more info has come out. John Thune needs to go, that much is clear. So this is from Data Republican, right? Great account. You should definitely follow this account because they are on top of everything, okay? That's at Data Republican. Hello, Senator Thune. At 3 a.m. on March 27th, in a nearly empty chamber, you passed a bill by voice vote that excludes all funding for ICE and CBP. Let me repeat that. Voice vote. I didn't know this when I was in support of it, right? I thought that this was a vote that was bipartisan. It wasn't. It was a voice vote. No roll call, no record of who was there, no accountability. It was you, Barrasso, and a handful of senators shuffling paper in the dead of night while Americans slept. You could have demanded a recorded vote. You chose not to. You could have held the line for 5 more days until the House returned. You chose not to. You could have used the same procedural tools Democrats have used against you for 40 days. You chose not to. Instead, you gave Chuck Schumer exactly what he asked for. DHS funding minus the immigration enforcement, and then you called it a win. You walked to the cameras, blamed the Democrats, and let's be precise about what you actually did do. You caved to the Democrats made on day 1 of the shutdown, 41 days of supposed hardball negotiations, and you settled for their opening offer. You handed them a template. Next time the Democrats want to defund any agency, they know now, just shut down the government and wait for John Thune to fold at 3 a.m. You punted to reconciliation, good possibility, not we will, not guaranteed. The precedent you set is you argued for months that the filibuster is sacrosanct and that 60-vote threshold protects minority rights. But on 3 a.m. Friday, you bent every norm that actually mattered. So essentially, what John Thune did was he didn't hold a vote like I was originally under the impression of. He manipulated the procedure to exclude a real vote. And he gave the Democrats what they wanted. And that part I didn't know, right? So we have to understand this right here is the way that this has to go now. We need to terminate the filibuster. I originally also wasn't on board with this because I thought the filibuster was some type of constitutional provision that protects the minority protects the minority so that you can't just jam through a whole bunch of stuff, right? But first of all, it's not constitutional. I didn't know that originally. I learned that. And really what it's doing is it's preventing the majority from putting through the agenda that the American people actually voted for, right? It's not protecting the minority. It's actually preventing it's preventing the will of the people, right? And if the Democrats were to win in November, the very first thing they're going to do is nuke the filibuster. And they're going to nuke it hard. They're going to get rid of it completely. They're going to say, all right, well, we want now to push through. But they're going to abuse their power, right? Nuking the filibuster isn't preventing them from doing that because they can nuke the filibuster with a simple 51 majority. They tried to do it already. And there were 2 Democrats that stopped them from doing that. But they're gone. The Democrat Party is radical now. They're going to do it. So yeah, do it first. And then put in the provisions that would stop them from abusing their power in the future. Doing nothing right now, it guarantees that you will create a system where they abuse their authority. All right. 8:44. We got one more story. Tiger Woods, man. Tiger Woods. What now for Tiger Woods? If you didn't know, Tiger Woods, he just decided, hey, I'm just going to roll another one. Tiger Woods rolled his vehicle again. It's not the same one as the last time. He rolled his vehicle again. There are a lot of people. Here's him, his mugshot. He did blow into a breathalyzer, and he was a 0-0, which means he wasn't drunk. But it's well known that Tiger Woods is on pain medication. He abuses his pain medication. He apparently tried to whip around another vehicle, and he rolled his vehicle. And here's the deal. All right. Look, I'm very weary of self-driving cars. Very weary of self-driving cars. I think self-driving cars I don't trust them. I see a bunch of people in them. I see these Waymo cars every day, and they're driving around. They got the cameras on them, and they're literally driving around, and I'm like, I wouldn't get in one of those. However, if I was filthy rich and I wanted to drink, or if I, God forbid, had an opioid addiction, which I would never have, I would probably get in one. I'd probably be like, you know what? This is probably worth it, right? You don't even have to Uber anymore. If you have enough money, you can literally just buy a Tesla. That's my hot take on this thing. I just think that Tiger Woods is an idiot for not having a self-driving car. There's no excuse in 2026 for having a DUI if you have money. Right. I mean, there's no excuse for having a DUI, period. Right. I have two. I beat both of them because one, I wasn't actually drunk. Two, the other one, I've already admitted I was drinking and driving. I just beat the case because I had a good lawyer. Right. I'm not proud of that. I'm just saying it happened. Right. People come at me all the time for, 8 years ago, almost 9 years ago. I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago, whatever it was. I made a stupid mistake. I drove to Austin to meet a friend. My friend I was supposed to stay there. He was getting really weird. He was hammered. And I was like, I don't want to deal with this kid all night. So I tried to drive home. Very stupid. Very stupid. I'm not happy. I'm not proud of it. I'm just saying. I got a good lawyer. My good lawyer got me a deal where I don't have a DWI. But there's no excuse to have one. If I was rich, if I was filthy rich, right, I would have had my self-driving car that I bought take me to Austin, and I would have had my self-driving car take me back. That's how I would have done it. In fact, if I ever make a bunch of money, I might get a self-driving car just so I don't ever get one. It's like, and I don't drink and drive anymore. All right. Obviously, I just did 90 days sober. Right. So obviously, I don't have a drinking problem. But, every once in a while, you make a mistake. You go out, you have a few beers, and you think you're fine. You think you're okay. So you drive. Now, what I do is, if I'm going out, I Uber to the place. I Uber to the place where I'm going to be drinking. So I can't stupidly get in my car and leave the place, right? My car's not even here. How am I going to drive if my car is not even here? I didn't even come here in a car, so I can't leave here in a car. That's how I stop myself from having stupid drinking brain. All right. But if I had a Tesla, I would drive myself there, and then I would be like, okay, I'm gonna let my car take me home. That's my hot take on the Tiger Woods situation. I just think he's a moron for not having a Tesla. That's not how everyone else is looking at it. That's how I'm looking at it. All right. Now, I'm going to talk about this. We have a couple of sponsors today, right? So it's Maha Monday. We like to get our healthy sponsors in on Maha Monday, right? We have Patriot Pouch, all right? So Patriot Pouch, USA.com, and you're going to use promo code MISFIT10 at checkout, all right? Patriot Pouch is the nicotine-like ritual and buzz that you expect, powered by better ingredients and America's values with fewer downsides, made in the USA. They got the Patriot Pouch 4-pack, and they got my favorite flavor, Orange You Glad You're an American. Patriot Pouch is made with nixidine, and nixidine is a cleaner compound that binds to the same receptors as nicotine, delivering a better, cleaner effect. The nicotine-free and tobacco-free pouches avoids traditional nicotine addictive properties, so you don't get as addicted to it, so you can easily try to wean your way off of it. Binds to the same receptors as nicotine. Pillow pouches, long-lasting flavor. The flavor, by the way, is amazing on these. So head over to Patriot Pouch USA and use code MISFIT10 at checkout and get your Patriot Pouch today. Now, next up, we have a new sponsor, and this one I'm actually really excited about. Okay, because I've been dealing with Dan over at Castle Flex for years. Right, this is the Castle Flex that he sent to my mom. He sent it to my mom when she was having hip issues. My mom had a broken hip before she passed away, and what this thing does, it's one of the best tools for stretching. It's actually the best tool for stretching that I think I've ever seen on the market, right? This is good for elderly people. This is good for very heavily active athletes. Because if you look here, right, you can see that there's these different positions that you can do. You can do these you can do these stretches and exercises in a chair if you're a senior citizen. You can take this strap and you can do really, really deep stretches. And there's a few different products on here, but I mean, if you look here at the top right side of the screen, right over here, all right, you can see the seniors over 65. This is what I was having my mom do. She put some pillows down. I had her stretching out her calves, her hips, and I had her doing all this stuff after she broke her hip. But also, I have my own Castle Flex here. When I was trying this out for the first time, I was like, okay, this thing's actually really, really useful for somebody who like me, who has 2 herniated discs and a bulging disc. And I took it to the gym. I used it every day for a while, and it really did help out. So right now, you can use. I don't have the promo code queued up yet on the screen, but just go to castleflex.com and use Misfit12 for 12% off of your Castle Flex, and we will get that in the beacons link, which is at the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Oh, actually, it's not anymore. Son of a gun. There we go. Right down here, beacons.ai, right here. Beacons.ai/the Misfit Patriot. It's not up there yet, but it will be. Okay. Finally, we get to the theme of the day. Okay. Here's some helpful tips that helped me lose 20 pounds in a couple of there we go. Officially down 20 pounds since January 1st. So obviously I've gone over the no drinking, okay? No drinking, you're going to lose weight, right? If you just don't drink. Some people want to drink, right? So here's what, and you know what? Here's a substitute that I've been using. This is another healthy hacks. Let's pull this up. Okay, Athletic Beer Light. I have been ordering this off of Amazon. Okay, no BS. I've been ordering this off of Amazon, right? It is, I think it's 25 calories, and it's a light non-alcoholic beer. Oh shit! I thought I had that on the screen. Sorry. I have been ordering this off of Amazon, having it delivered straight to the house. Right? It's non-alcoholic, so you can just have it delivered to the house. You can see here, it's 25 calories, 5 grams of carbs, and it tastes just like beer. It's actually decent. It's actually a pretty good beer, right? I think that if you're a beer drinker, if you're trying to take it easy on the beer, then this is a great option, right? Moving forward, I'm going to have the non-alcoholic beer at the house, right? I will be drinking again and like, going out with my friends to celebrate when I'm having, and like if my friend's like, hey, I'm celebrating my birthday, right? Now that the 90 days has passed, I will go out and I'll have a few adult beverages. I'll Uber over there and I will make sure that. But at the house, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to have this stuff here, right? Because I've been ordering it off of Amazon. I probably get one a month that lasts me a month, a 24 pack. And it lasts me the whole month. All right, so 25 calories. This is really good for a health hack, right? Next up, no bread, right? No bread is. Wait, I thought I had the no bread thing. Yeah, maybe I don't. No bread is a hard one to give up, right? No booze, no bread, 90 days and 20 pounds. It works. But breakfast, steak and eggs every day. Right? If I got this this grill for my patio, love this thing. It's a little flat top grill. I make my own sausages, sausage and eggs, steak and eggs, just protein. So no bread, no booze, 90 days. If you try that at the beginning, you can start it right now, by the way. You don't have to do January 1st to April 1st. If you want to try it right now, you will lose a lot of weight. Me, I'm 5'8". I was 226, right? I was 226. I was fat, right? At 5'8", that's fat. I'm also a fucking bowling ball. Sorry. Sorry about that.
I don't know why you got to do it in front of the kid with the effing.
I'm also a bowling ball, so I have the stature of a silverback gorilla, but I got down to 205, 21 pounds down in less than 90 days. Whatever you are, if you're, I don't know, if you're 20 pounds overweight, you'll lose 20 pounds. If you're 30 pounds overweight, you'll lose 20 pounds. If you're only 10 pounds overweight, you probably won't lose 20 pounds. That's my point. I can't do the no spaghetti. See? So Carl Benji in the chat says, I can't do the no spaghetti. I didn't say spaghetti. I didn't say spaghetti. I didn't say pasta. I said bread, right? I didn't say carbs. I said bread. And that is the misfit hack that you guys need to take, right? If I tried last year, no carbs, right? No carbs. And that was too difficult. It was... If you have too much of a restrictive diet, right, you will quit that diet. It will be too hard, right? So what I do, this is another misfit hack, right, for Maha Monday, okay? Here we go. Let's pull this up on the screen this time instead of whatever I did last time, okay? Let me show you this hack. Protein pasta. This is how you fix that problem, okay? Yeah, this might work. This isn't the one that I use, but let's find the one I use. But I have, there we go. You can get the Barilla. This one's not great. This one is the best. The Kaizen, but it's very expensive. If you don't want to go that expensive, there is the chickpea, and what's the one I'm looking for? Bonza. Here we go. This is how you fix that problem, okay? Lower carb, protein pasta, 20 grams of protein, 13 grams of fiber, 1 1/4 cup of veggies, okay? So, Maha Monday. These are the misfit health hacks that I'm trying to give you. You don't have to stop drinking beer. Just don't drink alcoholic beer. Get the one with the low carbs from Athletic. You don't have to stop eating pasta. Just get the Bonza pasta, and you don't have to stop eating pasta, right? For breakfast, high protein, steak and eggs. Everybody loves steak and eggs. Just don't have the bread. Don't have an English muffin with it. Don't have the bread, right? Now, the bread, there is a substitute, but it's not that great. It's, if you go on Instagram and you try finding a bread that's not bread, it tastes like garbage. But the final hack, I only have 1 minute left before Sean comes up on Ungoverned. The final hack that I wanted to tell you is chicken crust pizza. That, you go on Instagram, look up chicken crust pizza. I eat that 3 times a week. It's so good, right? All you do is you take ground chicken, 1 egg, some Parmesan and some spices. You make a little thing out of it. You put it in the oven, and then you sauce and cheese and everything like that. So chicken crust pizza, non-alcoholic beer, etc., etc., etc. Sean's coming up on Ungoverned. This was Maha Monday. Some health hacks for you with Misfit. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, and I will see you tomorrow for TDS Tuesday. Sean Farish coming up with Ungoverned. See you later.
A partially valid, a half-truth, if you will, is being pushed.
I can't wait to find out all sorts of new and exciting things I didn't know about myself.
So you just hate Jews, bro?
Yeah, you're just an anti-Semite. Congratulations.
You're
Go
not
join.
What would you say?
Exactly.
Well, that's different. It's not different. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's
That just we are the only society on Earth who has the obligation to self-destruct, to blame ourselves for every problem that has ever existed, and we just think of ourselves as the worst human beings who are responsible for every bad.
How many Muslims are trying to stop Boko Haram? How many Muslims were confronting ISIS? How many Muslims, the extremists always win. So the peaceful majority, of which I know many, they're irrelevant.